You know, I don't reckon a day goes by when I fail to receive an email or a text message or perhaps a comment here on YouTube asking me about camera gear, lighting equipment, questions about location scouting, star trackers, and especially camera settings and techniques out in the field. Well, today I want to talk about the one thing that is most important in achieving great Milky Way images. So, as I've often mentioned, astro landscape photography is a very difficult genre of photography. To do it really well consistently requires a very high level of skill and dedication. Technical and creative decisions need to be made hand in hand. Now, I can almost read some of your minds as we discuss this, and you'll be rightly thinking that all forms of photography require this blend or cooperation, if you like, between creativity and technical understanding of photography principles. Well, yeah, sure they do. The big difference, however, is that in the vast majority of photography, we make use of many of the semi-auto modes built right into the camera. And we do this all the time without even thinking about it. And let's face it, why wouldn't we? I mean, auto focus, auto white balance, inbuilt metering modes, the whole thing, they're awesome tools. All right, so getting back to my original question, what is the most important thing to master in astro landscape photography? So, whilst all of the things I mentioned previously are very important, the most important thing to master is post-processing. The only real difference between your images and those jaw-dropping shots you see on Instagram or whatever online is the editing. And it's also the reason very few people actually show you their step-by-step editing procedures here on YouTube. People tend to like to keep those a closely guarded secret. So I'm constantly asked to show before and after images to demonstrate the level of editing that I apply to my images. And to be honest, I think that's a really good thing to see. I mean, it gives us a true guide into how much work needs to be done to achieve the final look of an image. Now, it has to be said here that not every image needs the same amount of post-production. I reckon simple is good. It's always good. And if we can get the desired outcome with minimal editing, then I say go for it. And I'd also say that if you're the type of photographer who prefers getting out there to shoot the night sky and the landscape, you prefer that to editing for hours on a computer after the event, then that's what you should be doing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. I recently did a talk at a camera club about my nightscape photography, and after quite a bit of discussion, I found out that a heap of people in that group didn't ever do editing to any of their images, day or night. And for that reason, they shoot everything in JPEG. Well, as I said, there's nothing wrong with any of that. But of course, you can't expect your images to have any resemblance at all to the ones you're going to find online with that shooting philosophy. Anyway, this video isn't intended to create division in what people think we should or shouldn't do regarding editing of digital images. I mean, that's an old chestnut that's been kicked around for many years. But rather, I'd like to help you understand that if you're not overly happy with your astro landscape photography, it may well be because you need to work more on learning post-production techniques. Now, some of you will certainly be concerned about that because you find that the most challenging aspect of photography in general. And others of you may well see that as a challenge you're very willing to tackle full steam ahead. And as I've often said here on this channel, this relates to how we are wired from birth. Some people love technical challenges, whilst others prefer a much more casual, creative approach to their photography. But you know, in my experience, there are no shortcuts to getting a handle on post-production. It doesn't come easy at first, and many people are initially intimidated by Photoshop or Lightroom or perhaps any of the other myriad editing platforms that are out there today. The other thing I've noticed is that the vast majority of astro landscape shooters fall very loosely into three categories. Now, firstly, we have those who are probably over 50 and have no real desire to learn computer editing. It quite frankly intimidates them. Okay, secondly, those who are much younger than that and their whole existence is based on the software, apps, and probably electronics in general. Now, there has been an uptake of these people shooting nightscape photography in recent years, and many of the amazing images you see online will be attributed to those guys. Okay, and then we have the final category of people who could be any age, to be honest with you. And they are those who are willing to learn new things. They won't be intimidated by what they don't understand. Rather, they are actually willing to put in the effort to give themselves every opportunity of success. Now, I know a lot of great photographers who fall into this latter category. They could be either natural creatives or technical thinkers. It really doesn't matter. What does matter is to have a willingness to get a vision of what's possible and get in there and learn everything that you can. Now, as with everything else, practice, practice, and more practice will be the key to gaining mastery of Milky Way post-editing techniques. So, ask yourself the question, how much do I want to succeed in this Milky Way photography caper? And then ask this, what is it that's holding me back? Now, I can guarantee that if the answer to your second question is a lack of post-production ability, then the answer to your first question will decide the outcome of your whole journey. Because if you really do want to succeed in this genre of photography, then it's my belief that nothing can actually stop you from doing so. Sure, this whole post-processing thing does come a lot easier to the younger folks, but it's certainly still possible for those of us at any age to catch up. It's never been easier to learn anything than it is right now. In fact, here on YouTube, you can just about find all the answers you'll ever need. And look, the other thing I have to say about this, it won't be handed to you on a plate. You really do have to search for it, but it will be there somewhere. There are plenty of great channels out there in YouTube land who can assist with editing techniques. I mean, I have a whole playlist on these topics which are easy to access right below with my listed videos. Okay, well, perhaps hopefully I've made my point. None of us are too old to learn new things. In fact, it's a really good way to keep our minds active and creative. Now, one more point I'd like to make is that just because we improve our post-processing skills doesn't mean we have to make every image overly complicated. Now, over recent months, I've been on a number of photography tours, and I guess due to luggage limitations and things like that, I haven't taken a star tracker with me and a few other things. Sometimes I've only taken one lens on a trip. And so in fact, many of the images I've shot during these times have been quite simple, and the post-processing requirements are also somewhat simplified because of this. Now, I certainly don't want you to think that good post-editing is based on fancy gimmicky tricks in Photoshop. No, rather it's based on a good understanding of how to get to an end result based on what we want to achieve before we even begin the project. And from there, we just use the tools at our disposal to do so. So anyway, I thought to finish this video, I'd show you some before and after images to give you some idea of the changes that I like to make in my edited final astro landscape images. Anyway, all the very best for the Easter season, guys, and I look forward to catching you in the next video.